so different from each other? Each painting seems to be a different kind of journey, totally different. It doesn't seem like a series to me. It seems like each painting is unique investigation. Why is that?
Well, it is about personal journeys. It's about moments in time that I'm thinking of, and interpretations of things that I have experienced. That when I work from my imagination. I don't have any visual sources in front of me. Sometimes I'll actually start with a sketch, or even will start with a sketch, work from a sketch blindly. Like I will actually close my eyes and work like that, and then I start to develop those sketches. So when I'm thinking in terms of working from these mental images, I'm thinking of memories and thoughts and also sounds that I have experienced. So it's like a small trip that I'm taking when I'm creating these pieces.
So April, when you say divine divinations, you're thinking about like there's a source of inspiration that's kind of coming to you, but it's outside of yourself, from like a higher power. That's what you're meaning?
Yeah, in a sense, I get a lot of my inspiration from nature, but also from the environment and just experiences that I have gone through in general. And I kind of go with it. I just allow myself to relax and allow these things to occur. I don't try to think too hard and just preconceive what these pieces are going to be. I just let myself go and push the paint and work with spaces and forms to create these paintings. I like to work in an exploratory manner. So I find when I do that and I'm having fun with my work, that I do my best work. When I'm very rigid and having this preconceived idea what my work is going to be, then that's when I freeze up too much. A lot of the pieces I do simultaneously, not absolutely at the same time, but I'll work on one, I'll put one down. After a couple hours, I'll work on another one. I want to keep that freshness going on so that it allows me to paint and draw more automatically with these pieces.
Why are all the paintings in a vertical format?
I was implying the idea of the figure and how the figure, in particular the woman figure, as a vehicle for expression in a metaphorical way. So I wanted to challenge myself. Some of the pieces I've done in the past in more landscape format to allude more to the landscape than the human form.
His question about the differentness of everything, I was wondering about the title. Is this the title that you gave to the show? So maybe you could break it down into 2 words. What did you mean by divine, and what do you mean by deviation?
Divine?
And maybe you mean by the 2 together.
Oh, absolutely. This was a tough title for me to come up with, think about. He knows, my husband over here, he knows how much I put into my words, my titles, my thoughts. And I thought this would be a good title for this particular body work, because I think of the divine. I think of, in a sense, like Malika is talking about, this higher force, this kind of, just this feeling of something beyond what I can see visually and what I'm experiencing when I'm creating these pieces. And deviations, that idea of taking these forms and kind of going off the beaten path, improvising, but allow myself to kind of break the rules, bend them, to mess with things in a playful manner, to explore new avenues of thoughts within the forms and the shapes that I'm creating. Does that help? That makes sense? Yeah. So in subtly, I think that the 2 words contrast each other in a dualistic manner, but in a way that I think that is a good contrast with this idea of the sacred and natural, like the body and the mind.
Do you always use like your palette is always orange, yellows, and
That's what I'm drawn to. I like bright colors. And this was, I went to Sedona last summer. I don't know if you guys remember Eric Hollowatz. He invited me, and I was so pleased to go to Sedona and experience the desert for the first time. I went to the Grand Canyon, we went to see ruins, and it was just an amazing experience. And I love the light and the colors out there of the desert that just inspired me greatly. And I think that's why these pieces are brighter and more intense than some of the pieces I've done in the past that are a little bit more local as far as the colors are concerned. So again, those experiences of nature, whether I'm here in Louisiana or someplace else, really does speak to me and inspires me to create these pieces and make sense, mimic the colors that I've experienced, not just perceptually, but psychologically, and then creating that moment in time in these pieces.
You paint these on an easel or on a table?
Easel.
What?
Sometimes, well, I have like one of these convertible easels where I'll lay it flat.
The work
And I'll-
flat and then vertical and flat.
Yeah, and then I'll put it up and I'll create, and I go back and forth between the two. But I paint standing. I don't like to sit much unless it's something very detailed, like that painting down the impulse. I'll sit down and do some really fine detail work in some pockets in that piece. But a lot of these pieces I stand up because I like to have my full body in the the procedure of working and painting.
How would you say your work changes from show to show?
I think, I mean, like from figurative to more abstract or such. I think that I've just allowed myself to go in a direction I feel inspired to go in. And I just really want to explore a more fundamental depiction in terms of non-representational abstraction, using geometric forms and fusing them with organic forms as well. Kind of a marriage of the two to create what I want to say psychologically and perceptually. And I think that's what I was compelled to do. It was a new challenge for me, opposed to doing more figurative and representational paintings I've done in the past. There's a tendency for me to go back and forth between non-representational imagery and more representational imagery. Kind of like going back and forth between the different stages of consciousness.
I wonder if you'd mind taking one of your paintings that you particularly like and talk about it in terms of those things that you've discussed with us thus far.
Okay. All right. Which one?
No, you choose.
I choose. Well, I'll just choose Tide since it's close to me. So this was inspired directly by going to the beach and just watching the waves. And I'm not just wanting to express that visual feeling of being there near the water, but also the sound of it. And so, and what would happen if you keep on walking out into deeper water? So that feeling of sublime a little bit enters into this piece, kind of somewhat of a figure embedded in these kind of jagged strokes, engulfed in a moment of the sweeping tide. Will that figure survive or not, or get swept out, or swim back to the shore? So I think this piece is a little bit about struggle in terms of overcoming obstacles, but in a natural way, but also in psychological ways as well. And the coming of the tide, the coming in and out, that kind of circadian-like rhythmic feeling that I like to imply in all my pieces as a kind of a constant measure. I think this one is a little more tense in that respect.
You ever get really depressed when you paint?
No,
No?
I think whatever I'm feeling and experiencing comes out when I'm working. And so I'm human, so I'm going to have my bad days and good days just like everybody. And I have experienced a pretty challenging year in a lot of ways. And I think that I've allowed that tension and allowed those feelings to just play a part and play a role in my work.
April, last month we had a show that was focused on high school students, of which your students' work was involved, and even one of your students actually ended up taking home Best in Show. My question to you is, how does, if it does, how does your role as an educator and working with high school students, how does that impact your own art making and your own process?
I love those kids at Baton High. They are so intelligent, so mature, and so ambitious. It's kind of like synergy over there. I'm helping them with their future, which I can't tell you how rewarding that is. And they in turn inspire me too. And young people just have that energy, and a room full of them is just such a wonderful thing. And so I never force any kind of particular ways and directions I think that students should go in. I just allow their creativity to go in whatever direction they want to go, and I help them along with that. Especially, I teach mostly seniors at Baton High, and they're very advanced seniors. Some of them are on the level of college students. I mean, they're so conceptual and just, it's a challenge for me. And like Margaret, she's just very precocious young woman. So it's a good thing, and I just let that flow out of me as a teacher, and they do the same. It's a very peaceful atmosphere. Just walk in my classroom. Most of them are very quiet, and it's funny. The next door class is a lot louder, and I think sometimes the students take on the personality of the teacher. But so I hope I answered that question.
What age group are you working with?
Mainly seniors at Baton High. I teach some sophomores too, but I teach the talented art seniors and the AP seniors over there.
I think they're lucky to have you as a teacher.
Yes.
Thank
Really.
you.